It's showtime. At least that's what StreamYard just told me. It's time to go live. Hi, I'm Vicki O'Neill, your Plateau to Grow marketer, and this is the Marketing Stream, the live video show on YouTube that I've been doing on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I announced a while back that I was going to continue doing the live video through December of 2020. So this is Wednesday, December 2nd. And we've got a few more weeks of the live show. And then I am going to take a step back from the weekly lives, and I'll probably go live once a month and talk about various marketing topics. So if that is something that you're interested in participating in, listening to, I will schedule those ahead of time so that you can see when I'm going to go live, and then also what the topics are. So I don't know that it'll be Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you'll want to check and see in case you're watching the replay, and maybe there's a time that works better for you to actually join live so you can participate in Q&A. Hey, Monique. Thanks so much for joining live. I appreciate you being here. Hope everything's going well. We now are having in the between Dayton, Ohio and Cincinnati area. I know you're in, excuse me, you're in Colorado. We got our first snow this week. So I think right now it's like 23 degrees. It's really cold. So yeah, it's been interesting, but at least it's sunny today. So we haven't seen that in a while. I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks again so much for being here live. I appreciate that. Today I am going to talk about creating compelling content for the customer journey. I know I have talked about this various ways, even showed the customer journey, the 6 steps that I focus on. And of course, there's all different kinds of ways that you can create content that is going to resonate with your ideal audience. So I will be doing that. You should change your StreamYard name tag. I know. That's so funny that you mentioned that, Monique. I noticed that right as I was going live, and I'm like, crap, I forgot to change it to Vicki Carroll. Previously known as sunny and cold here. Yeah, you guys have the cooler weather there. I don't know how you can do that. I just need to move someplace warmer. So farther south is in my future. I just don't know when, because my now husband, it sounds so weird saying that, my husband's son is a sophomore in high school. So we need to stay here until at least he graduates. So at some point we will be venturing farther south, going somewhere warm. But for now, we are in Ohio and it's cold. So at least we get the 4 changes of seasons, right? I think you guys do as well, Monique, over in Colorado. So, and I want to give you a shout out, Monique, because the videos that you're doing, the shorts, the lives, the uploads, all of them, the ones that I've seen, have been phenomenal. And of course, I'm a huge advocate and lover of animals. So I love just seeing the photos and the behind the scenes of what you're doing. So I wanted to commend you on doing such a great job with just your content and telling the stories and kind of giving insights to everybody who's watching your videos of behind the scenes, not only of the different shoots that you're doing, but really talking through the details on, how they, other people who are in the same line of business as you can have the same type of equipment or same type of setup in order to get the same output that you create. So I think that's awesome. And actually, I think what you're doing is actually something that people in other industries could do as well. So it's just your subject is different with dogs and cats mostly. So anybody who's, supposed to be going on like location or doing photographs, depending on people, it might be a little bit challenging, but just the whole thing, I think there's something that people can learn from you in all of your videos. So I just wanted to commend you on that. So good job. You are welcome. Yeah, I always enjoy looking at your videos. So whenever I see them and click on them, I just love seeing them. So, so you do a really good job with your content and even your headlines, and seeing the preview as well is helpful, especially if it's a picture of an animal. Again, I love them. So you do a good job of that. So what I wanted to cover today is talking about creating compelling content. Now, of course, it's going to, just with everything, it depends, right? It depends on your audience. It depends on the platform that you're focusing on. It depends on what stage in the customer journey It depends on, there's so many different factors that it depends on. So what I'm going to do today is just talk to tips as to what to consider when you're creating your content in order to better attract your ideal customer. So regardless of who they are, just, of course, that's the first step and first tip. You have to know who your ideal customers are. So even though Monique photographs and does videos of animals, that's not her target customer. It's the pet owners who are her ideal customer. So just knowing who your ideal customer is, and that's like basic business marketing 101 type stuff that you need to understand who those people are, so that when you're writing your copy and putting it out there for them to find and really connect with you before buying from you, it's important to know who they are and where they're spending time so that you can take those next steps effectively and connect with them. So that would be the first tip or first step, is to know who your ideal customer is. And like I said, I've gone through that phase. In fact, I will at the end, actually, I'm going to do it real quick right now because we can, right? I'm going to go and include a link to, I'm going to put it in the chat right now, and then I will also put it in my the description after we're done. And it's a link to the 6 videos that I did, one on each of the customer journey steps, one of those being the creating your persona. So I talked about that, it's actually part of a guide that I had created a while back. So I'm in my playlist. Let me pull that up real quick. Connect the dots. That's not it. Why can't I find it? Probably because I don't have my glasses on. That very well could be. Marketing and Sales Podcast. All right, I will put it in the, not sure why I don't see it. I will put it in the description. So I apologize, I don't have that right now. So I do talk about that. And again, each of those videos will go farther in depth into not just the steps in the customer journey, but also the content associated with each one. So in that guide that you can download, which there is a link currently in the description, you can click on that and that will take you to a landing page where you can download that guide if you're interested. It even shows like a snapshot of what those pages look like. So it'll help you walk through that and gives different examples of types of content that you would want to use for each of those steps. So first one, speaking to the ideal target customers. The second step is creating content, including like your headline really is the most important thing, because that, as we know, is what attracts us to the rest of the content. So if you don't have a compelling content header that makes them want to click on it, then the rest of the content is really kind of a moot point, right? So when you have a headline that speaks to the pain point, then that's going to be more attractive to someone in that target market. So an example is, if I am a food prep and plan health coach, and my target audience is women who are between the ages of 35 and 50. Okay, so they may have kids, they may not. The problem is that they don't have time for food prepping, and even if they did have time to do that, like to know what is healthy and the time to put that together. So understanding that, their pain points. So understanding who my ideal customer is, not only female between the ages of 35 and 50, but also knowing that, they either work out of the office or, for a company or themselves, and they could be a mom. So that means that they don't have a lot of time to do this. In fact, that's some of the feedback. I don't have time. Another pushback or pain point could be, I don't even know where to begin. Another one could be, I don't like planning that far in advance because what if I change my mind? The fourth one could be cost. So there's a lot of objections that could be handled in the headline itself in order to capture their attention. So, and we'll just say that this group of ideal customers are on Facebook and Instagram. So we'll say that they're there. So I want to make sure, as a health and fitness coach, that I am on those two platforms so that when I get the message out there, my ideal customers see it. And then, to address the pain point in a headline, it could be something like how to food prep for the next 5 days or for the next 7 days. If I want to make it even more specific, it could be how to food prep in less than an hour for the next 3 days. So really understanding timeframes, what they can expect. It's direct to something that they know they want to do, but they don't have time to do it or they don't know how to do it. So it could be your ultimate guide to food prep, or it could be food prep guide for dummies. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can incorporate the pain point into the headline, which really attracts them to what it is that you're trying to do and gets them to really click on that particular headline. So I had mentioned in one of those examples, that brings me to like the third step or third tip, which is to include numbers. So a lot of times we associate things, whether it's images or content, with numbers, and keeping them, I've always heard and then also practiced for the most part, when you're using numbers, to use odd numbers. So 1, 3, 5, 7, etc. And then really using numbers below 10 unless it's something that's like really comprehensive and it's really out there. So if I saw an article on, like I'm doing a search on Google and I saw one of the options was, 201 tips to the perfect food prep plan for, busy moms or for busy females, whatever. If I saw something like that, I know that it's going to be awesome. I know that it's going to be full of all kinds of ideas. I get excited about something like that. And then I know that it's something that I'm either going to need to like bookmark. I'm going to have to put, read it for later, copy the link, send it to myself in an email, whatever the case may be. I know it's going to be chock full of all kinds of information that I can use to help me take that first step in doing a food prep plan. You could even add in there, healthy, just for lunch. It could be food prep. If you're watching your calories, it could be for meals with under 300 calories. I don't even know what that equates to, but if that makes sense, then that number would make sense. So just incorporating, things like that into the headline is also extremely helpful in getting attention of your ideal customers. Now, of course, those are people who are maybe not aware of you yet. So they're just starting to get to know who you are, right? So they see something like that. If it's compelling and it's something that's really interesting and it really hits a pain point, then they're more likely going to click on that link. So now they know that, hey, Vicki talks about these food prep tips. She's got this guide that I can use. She's got, the tips, what to look for, different ways of, thinking about it. She even gives me a planning calendar and what she uses for her planning. That's going to be something that's going to be memorable to the person who just read it. So going to that length to not only, on a Google search, which of course is going to be generated from, it could be generated from your website or a blog post or even from social media. Looking at the content that you're creating that's going to help people who are trying to find your solutions is how it's best going to attract your ideal customers. Now, of course, if you're doing blogging, it's going to go out to Google whether you like it or not, unless you indicate somehow on your website that you don't want it to be indexed by Google. I don't know why anyone would do that, but maybe there's people who do. But looking at the content that you're creating, if you're running a business, chances are you do want it to be indexed by Google. But whatever you're putting on social media too, we've seen posts out on LinkedIn. We've seen them on Facebook. I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen those things on a Google search for the topic that I'm looking for. So that means that content that's going out on the social media channels is just as important as creating a blog post for your particular website. Let's see here. I saw something pop up. Monique, food prep for dummies would be for me. That was something I just came up with, but it would actually be for me too. I know I should do it, but because I work from home, that's my excuse. I don't like, honestly, I don't like spending a lot of time on food prep. But I do know a lot of people who do it, and those who do helps tremendously with time, schedules, especially, when people were like crazy busy and running kids in all kinds of different directions, plus both parents working full time out of the house, things got a little bit crazy. So food prep was a little bit more prevalent, I think, back then than it is now. But I have heard of people who are like very high on nutrition or exercise, very health conscious, that they will go through and do food prep as well, because it just helps them stay focused on their training program. So I don't like thinking about what I'm eating. I don't like spending a lot of time about it. I don't even like planning for dinner the same day, 2 hours before we're going to eat. I just want to get it done and be done with it. Like I love eating, but it's just not something I like to focus on. So looking at, what's going to generate the most clicks, or, what's going to help them create that connection between what they're seeing online and you or your brand is what's going to be the most important. So that would be something that would help with the know and the know, like, and trust process, which those are 3 of the 6 steps in my customer journey guide. Going on to like is then, okay, once they're on that, we'll just say it was a blog post. They're reading the food prep tips, and now you're trying to get them to take that next step into sticking with you. You don't want them to leave that article and then go find another health, nutrition coach. You want them to continue to get to know you more, right? And then start to like you, trust you, and buy from you. So in that article, you could then create an opportunity for them to attend a webinar or view a different article on your website that might have like an infographic, or include at the bottom of that, if you're just starting out, a testimonial that you got from someone that really talks to the fact that you create great information or great content and the reason why they like it or the reason why they reached out to you. So there's pieces that you can incorporate even to that's going to help take them to that next step to really get to like you. So let's just say it's a webinar. Now they've given you their first name and email address. Most of the time, that's the only information that's requested. And then they attend your webinar where you walk through why it's important to food prep. And again, we're talking to women who are between the ages of 35 and 50. So we're talking about why it's important to food prep, and you're addressing at least 2 or 3 of their pain points. You're addressing lack of time, not knowing where to begin, and then also just something that's not going to, it could either be like healthy or something that, super easy. So looking at those different topics. So then you're going to talk about what it is. So what is food prep? And you can even give something away like a 7-day calendar that they can use over and over again. It's just something that they use digitally. They could print it out, put it on the calendar or on the refrigerator, or they could share it with their family on a Google Calendar. But something that they could use over and over again. So that would be the valuable piece that they would get from you by attending the webinar. In the webinar, then you would also talk about either attending or buying an online course, or you could offer a consultation package to work with you one-on-one to help them do their food prep and their planning. Maybe you've got small group coaching and you offer that as another option. So at the end of that webinar, then that you've at least given them something to think about. If they decide not to move forward with you, then at least they have something that they can use as a takeaway. And of course, it's branded with your name or your business, so that if they decide to reach out to you, they've got the information that they need to find you and then connect with you again. So if, at that point, though, they've still started to get to know you and like you more, right? So at that point, they may trust you, but they don't know exactly if they're ready to do that yet. And that's not really something that is anything you could address with content unless you actually ask that openly during a webinar. Is, if you're on the fence, what's holding you back? Fill in the blank. I'm not moving forward because fill in the blank. So you can look at it from that different perspective. And again, these are different pieces of content, so you've got the blog, you've got the webinar, you can even refer them to video, on YouTube. So a particular video on YouTube. So there's different pieces of content that you can refer them to from one. And it's just understanding, your ideal customers, going back to step number one, is where are they? What's their pain points? Where are they spending time? And if you can answer those three questions, then mapping out the content for the customer journey is going to be actually easy, because you have all the critical pieces of information that you're not spraying and praying that somebody's going to find you, right? You're at a very targeted area where your ideal customers are going to find you. Then creating the content that's going to help navigate their customer journey. And of course, everybody's going to go at different paces. So you do want to look at that possibility of it's not linear. So not everybody that finds you, again, we'll just say with the Google search and going to your blog post, not everybody's going to find you there. And then not everybody's going to, at the same time, want to sign up for a webinar. And then they're not all going to buy your product. So understanding what those other points are, that if they didn't find you on Google, again, if they're on Facebook and Instagram, have presence there. What type of content are you going to share there? Are you going to be sharing tips, success stories, sharing a recipe with them? Take them behind the scenes of you doing food prep. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with content that is going to resonate with your ideal customers, that is going to help them through that process to ultimately buy from you. So and then the fourth thing that I wrote down for understanding your ideal customers and really connecting with them and helping them through that customer journey process is to incorporate buzzwords. And I think I mentioned this earlier in the conversation about a particular buzzword, but including buzzwords in like your headlines, again, to get the attention and just help them, continue down the journey, would be things like tips, ideas, tools, ultimate, you do an ultimate guide. So different things like that are free, but downloadable, so that you are, collecting their name and email so that you can help foster that relationship and nurture them through their journey at their pace, so that when they are ready to buy from you, that you're there, you're top of mind, you're the first one that they want to seek out and actually purchase from. So when you share compelling content throughout the different phases of the customer journey, then you're kind of staying in their mind, right? The repetition of where they see you, how they get to know you, like you, and trust you, as long as you're there and you're consistent, you're showing up, you're connecting with them. If they have questions, you're answering them. If they're requesting information, then you're providing that information. You're making it super easy for them to not only access, but then to use. So, looking at that process for your customers or your ideal customers is really easy to do once you know who they are, where they're spending time, and what their pain points are. So hopefully, if you're just starting out, that's something that, first things first, that's what I would recommend doing. If you're creating content now to connect with or find those ideal customers, I would just make sure that you're in the right place. You understand where they're spending their time. Whether it's, like I said, Facebook and Instagram, or it could be LinkedIn and Twitter, could be YouTube, wherever it is, then just make sure that you are there as well. And even understand other people that they're connected to and how they're engaging with them, because that actually can provide insight into maybe what you don't already have included in your business or your content that you're creating. And sometimes you're just so close to it that you can't see, the other side of it, or you can't really experience it from the unknown perspective because you're so close to it. So understanding who they're also connecting with and engaging with, and maybe even asking questions that they should be asking you. If you see that happening, then you can understand maybe there's a gap in how you're representing yourself or the target customers that you're pursuing. Or it could be that you need to reevaluate, how you're presenting yourself. If people thought that you were a food prep person because you talked about it at one point, but really you help, that same age group, but you're focusing on leading a healthier lifestyle, but really focusing on exercise, then that would be a completely different set of content, right? So it's a matter of not sending mixed messages as to, what information you're putting out there versus what they're actually seeing from you, and making that association between content and brand. And then the fifth thing is to just respond to any type of inquiry as soon as possible. I think I've actually talked about this as well, probably part of the 6-step process. And just making sure that anyone who's asking for information, that you respond quickly, because that leaves an impression on how quickly you're going to turn around to anything that they might be interested with you in the future. So if you're talking about putting out a product and you haven't put it out, it's setting that precedence that you're saying something that you're going to do, but then you're actually not doing it. So just focusing on that as well. So those were the 5 things that I wanted to go through. If there are any other questions, even if you're watching the replay, if you have questions, let me know. Like I mentioned, the 6 steps to the customer journey and creating content for the customer journey, that link is in the description. And I will get the link to the YouTube playlist that I created on my channel. And I will include that link in the description as well, so you can see the different videos that are associated with each one of those, especially the one on personas, which I mentioned earlier. So, all right, any questions? I'm gonna wait here. Monique, if you're still here, let me know. What exciting things do you have going on this week? Do you have anything exciting going on in your world? I know, and I haven't checked your channel yet, if you've reached 1,000 subscribers. I know that you had mentioned, or Diana had told me maybe, that you were trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And you're doing phenomenal content. So I'm wondering where you are with that. If you're still here, let me know. I would love to know. And then, of course, anybody watching the replay will know that too. And I recommend going and following you or subscribing to your channel. That if that's the case, just even if you're not, a photographer that's interested in photographing animals or doing videos, of people's pets, I still recommend following her, because 1, she's funny. 2, she creates great content. And 3, it helps even outside of that industry understand how you can create great content and different types of content. So she even shared in one of her videos the behind the scenes of redoing her office at home, her home office, which I thought was cool, because there was even a before and after shot, which I love before and after shots. So that was really cool. Hey, Diana, thanks so much for being here. I was just getting ready to sign off. I was giving Monique kudos for her phenomenal job on YouTube and reasons why people should subscribe to her channel and help her reach her goal, which I know you'll reach because you're just awesome. So now I'm going to have to step it up a few notches to catch up with you and Diana. All right. Well, that is it. That's all I've got. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And until next time, make today great.